cross at a certain time, or certain thing would have crossed far earlier. Are you getting me? Just like when he went to Abuja to meet with the president and he came out with that agreement. He should never have agreed. That's what some people said. Because even me, when I look at that agreement, I knew that he was walking into a minefield. That was absolutely wrong. If somebody has been involved.
So how did you get to know that that was absolutely wrong? Because you've not been a politician, so the base of knowledge.
Yes.
So if you were in his shoe, you wouldn't have agreed to those terms.
Yes, certainly.
So where did you get this knowledge? Have you not been a politician?
Well, I have been an observer. I've been an observer in politics, so he may not have been.
He had been in politics.
I wouldn't call him a
had
politician.
uploaded with politicians. That was the immediate past accountant general for Wiki.
Yeah, being an accountant general may not even position you to be in politics the way he should be. Look at somebody like Fashola. Fashola was a chief of staff. It was a different position entirely for good 8 years. With that, he was even more prepared. But that aside, that is not even the way to develop people in politics.
Okay.
If you look at certain nations of the world, you have youth development in politics. In fact, there was a time was it not Denmark? I think one of these, not Norway, Sweden, where they normally have this youth camp for politicians in different parties. They simply gather and they go to youth camp. In fact, on one of those occasions, one killer went in there and killed some of those children. I think that is how I even knew about it. But you see, they have this process where you pass these children through one thing or the other to let them understand how to handle policies. Look at even America. They have what they call internship, like in the White House or the different government houses. Take, for example, I've seen a picture of Bill Clinton standing with the then John F. Kennedy. As a secondary school boy, he was just, I think, a 17-year-old boy in secondary school. They went to visit the White House. They passed these kids through that process. He went there and he took a picture with the then President John F. Kennedy. And that may be where the seed of going into politics was developed. He became a governor at the age of 29. So we need to have a deliberate process being put in place to be able to, bring up people who are going to succeed you. But the challenges we have, like I said, is that our politicians live in a parallel environment. How they develop that environment is different. They don't put into consideration the people that are going to superintend over. That is where the challenges are.
Otuoke, I'm sorry to cut you short. Your position is quite idealistic, but let's become quite realistic as far as this matter we talk about is concerned. We're still on leadership recruitment process. The question I put across to you is, we have a platform which is political parties, where through this platform people are recruited to become leaders, so to speak. Governor, House Assembly member, senator, so you name it. Let's look at this platform and the recruitment process adopted by this platform. That's our own. So let's look at it and talk about its credibility and how these turn out to either mar development or make it happen. Make it happen. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, you see, we don't actually have any recruitment process in politics. Somehow we have, because we have
all comers affair.
It's the all comers affair. Anybody can come in. We are not saying bar anybody, but you have to have somebody who has talent in doing one thing or the other within politics, and you have to develop that talent. You see the point, which we don't do.
So we pick Rivers State. I'm sorry, we pick Rivers State as the case study.
Yes.
Then we'll move to Edo State.
Okay.
Then we move to Benue as we had mentioned.
Yes.
So let's talk about this.
Like Rivers State, how did he become the governor?
Good.
That is the point.
Is it that would you say that the person that was picked never had an idea of what governance entailed?
You see, yes, I don't think he had. You see, you must be involved in certain processes to be able to be qualified, actually, to sit on power. People keep on talking about men are born. I've listened on a radio station in this state, a sister station, where one man was talking, a former chairman. He said, people with leadership quality like us, who are born. I said, no, in my mind, that nobody is born a leader. You have that quality as a leader, which can be developed. It's like a raw diamond. You see the point? Take, for example, let me, you say I'm being idealistic. Let me go to somebody like Barack Obama. The two guys who helped him to become president saw in him a talent in politics, and they went there and developed that talent. And it wasn't long he became the president of the US. You see the point? So we need to have a deliberate, because the problem we have in Nigeria today is leadership problem. And if it is leadership problem, different political parties need to focus on that problem and see how they can develop leaders, you know, to come and handle the country. Because people keep on talking about Nigeria has got a constitutional problem, institutions are not working, you need to have a strong institution, not strong men. Institutions do not build itself. It is men who build institutions, and those men must be strong men. They must be strong men to be able to build strong institutions. So the primary problem Nigeria has is a leadership problem. You need the right men. You cannot hand over a country to criminals. You know, Nigerians keep on talking about Nigeria being captured. What we are experiencing today is a state capture.
Now, you wouldn't say that.
No, it's true. It's true.
How do you mean when you say the state capture?
Yes,
who captures?
Yeah, well,
I
don't want to point out, but when you look at what is happening in Nigeria today, a man, take for example, there was a time the British people made a mistake. Let me call it that. And they made a woman a prime minister. And that woman could not happen. The moment that woman became a prime minister, before long, the economy went down. And the people realized that this woman couldn't handle the country. What did they do? They came up immediately. In months, the woman had resigned. That is the woman that Rishi Sunak, who just lost election now, took over from. You see the point I'm trying to say? You know, because it is not just the institution. It is the men who made that institution work. Simply told the woman, look, you cannot again sit down there. And the woman saw that the forces against him were more powerful than any other.
In Rivers State, the just concluded elections, yes, that gave rise to the crisis, seemingly crisis we are having now. We had one political party that swept virtually all the seats. Yet we had other political parties too.
Well, we all know. You see, let me come to that Rivers issue. Look at the election process in Rivers State. If you go to even IREF up to today, what INEC announced is not what is on the IREF, from the presidential to the this thing.
That had been countered.
No, it has not.
That had been countered at the tribunal, even up to the Supreme Court.
No, it has not. How did they counter it? They said they prefer. This is what they prefer to use. It is a preference. They said we never said we are going to use. They depend on the IREF.
And the Supreme Court confirmed that.
That is the point. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You cannot make a process and you work against it. It's simply the problem of institutions again, like we said. Are you getting me? Not being able to hold up. And why did the institution not be able to hold up to the law that was made? You understand? Or the spirit of the nation, the spirit behind that law that was made. It simply boils down to one simple factor. And that is that you don't have strong men in that, even in the judiciary in Nigeria. If you look at what is happening in Kenya, and let me just show you an example of what is going on in Kenya. You understand me? The judiciary were behind somehow. I'm not saying they were, but they were part and parcel of those who told Mr. President, don't do this. Are you getting me? In fact, let me just look at the what do you call them? Opposition parties in that country were in the street with the young men. You see the point? When we had NSAS in Nigeria, you never saw anybody elected in any party come to join the bus and say police brutality is wrong. Not one, even when they were killed. That is the nature of the persons you see on managing institutions in Nigeria. And that is why institutions don't work in Nigeria. Not because the laws are that bad. The laws in Nigeria are not too bad. But the problem we are having is that the quality of men who are manning those institutions, they are get men who are manning these different institutions in the country are weak men, or are they compromised men, or they are corrupt people. That is the reason why I tell you that Nigeria has been captured and nobody is saying anything about it. That is the challenge we are having.
So let's get to Edo State.
Yes.
Again, the courts have nullified the primaries of People's Democratic Party in Edo State, the governorship primaries, particularly for People's Democratic Party. And the position is simply for refusing, denying some delegates the right to vote. And as we speak, it appears we may likely have one
two parties,
just one candidate or so, or two in that state. But if we talk about major political parties, we may likely have just one in that state. Would you still also speak concerning that, touching on the leadership recruitment process?
Certainly. You see, not just how did they get to a position where you had delegates were not allowed to vote. It shows you the leadership problem. That's a leadership recruitment problem in that state, because that man must have been a preferred candidate of either the governor or some big wigs in that place.
The issue of Philip Shaibu,
yes,
and
other persons,
Godwin Obaseki,
yes,
who came from All Progressive Congress to when they had issues with Shimole.
Not just that. You see, the point is this: how did you elect this man? Was it a fair process? That is on one hand. The other one is that you see the collaboration of institutions to enthrone illegality by INEC. INEC, tell me, was this a process?
INEC it was just an observer.
No, certainly you observe.
That's why I'm sorry to call you short. That's why INEC, when they were joining a suit, INEC only filed memorandum of appearance and never filed any other thing apart from that.
You know. But I want to go back to okay. What is the essence of observing? If you observe, you're supposed to see whether the processes are good or bad. If the processes are bad, certainly INEC should say, this thing, you're not doing it the right way. You have to go back and allow every delegate to vote. But INEC was silent over that matter. And that is simply the collaboration of institutions in the enthronement of illegality, like I said. And that is one of the problems we have in this country. Imagine if INEC was chaired by persons who have integrity, who have strength of character. You will not have this kind of problem. I want to show you an example. Okay. Look at what happened in Abia State.
Those are hard words. You really want to stand by it?
Yes, I can stand by that. We saw what happened at the presidential election, which up to today, INEC has not been able to come out to tell us that these things went wrong. They said there was what do you call it? There was a hacking of the system. How can it is same? I understand software to a certain degree. It can't happen on the same platform that you are using this thing. One interface is having a problem, the others don't have. It's not possible. It can't happen. You know, what's wrong? You see the point? So the same thing that INEC is doing all over again in Edo State. You hear what they are saying? That over 100, whether all the the Beavers machine has been affected by flood. You understand me? We are starting to hear the same stories we heard all over again.
Has it not been affected?
No, we are not very sure, because INEC being INEC, the way we saw in last year's election, I mean, I will not really put my face down and say they are saying the truth. You see the point? We are going to see a lot of challenges in that election, because there are certain the institution of INEC is not standing up. We saw what the returning officer in the Abia State governorship election did. You understand me? If everybody heading a particular section is doing what that lady did, we will not be having the problems we are having. And again, we saw what happened in was it in Adamawa State during the same election? We're not having what we are seeing. You see, the woman stood her ground. You understand me? But INEC at the center, when it came to the presidential election, didn't do the same thing. So you see this collaboration. This one is practicing illegality, and the institution that is supposed to be like to checkmate certain illegalities is looking the other way. And if somebody is looking the other way, it means that person may have been compromised. That is the challenges we are having. You know, so you see the point that in Edo State, you know, it goes back to show over the years in Nigeria that when it is time for us to bring up a leader, a compromise process is being used in determining who sits in power, and that's why we keep on having wrong men. And it discourages people who know they have what it is to offer the people of going into.
It appears I am so much captivated by your position. I am nearly persuaded, like Paul had said. But let me ask you this. In all of this, it appears you have a grip of the challenges we have as far as recruitment into our leadership cadre is concerned.
Yes.
What would be the ideal modality or modalities to have good leaders up there, so that it will trickle down to the grassroots and we have a better country?
I think INEC should have a leadership.
Not necessarily.
No, INEC. No, this I know what I'm saying. INEC is the umpire. They should make certain requirements to all political parties.
The requirements that when a sitting governor would have agreement with an upcoming
not even that. Not even that. I'm not even going to that area.
Okay.
I'm talking about coming. You know, look at football teams across the world. In Barcelona, they have a youth system they call La Masia, where people like Messi came out. You can talk about the great players in Spain, the golden generation, most came out of there. Every team, you are required to have a youth team, you are required to have a female team, and you are required to have your main team. You can do whatever you want to do. That is what is done there. Now, you have a local government system, and every one of us are from villages. You see the point? So when you are trying to bring up election like this, not even now, you can have a better leadership process at the local government level. Like I said, have a youth program for young people. Give them certain basic responsibilities they can carry out from that youth system. You know, determine the person who likes to go into politics, and then give them certain basic responsibilities for them to carry out as they grow up. This is done in China. The present president chairman of this.
But even I'm sorry to cut you short, even at in a different local government, we have youth association, we have women groups, we have different groups across different local governments that trains young people or people to become leaders. But yet we still have it.
Yes, the youth groups are there, but for what purposes are they there? They are not there to be developed. They are there to be used as weapons, as pawns when election come, as support to one big man or the other. They are not being used for the processes they are supposed to be used for. You see the point? All the women groups, the youth groups, you know, are supposed to be used to develop, to start a process of party development. Let them understand the basics and train them properly to understand issues of policy. You can pick any young man from the community, from the village.
Real formal training.
Yes,
or
it
some
can
sort
be.
of an
Seminars should be organized regularly. Responsibility should be given to them to handle. I was going to China. The president
is that going to be done by Ministry of Youth and
No,
Sport?
not the ministry.
The
it
local
is
government?
a party issue.
Okay.
Party issue.
This should be done by the party.
By the party. You have different parties should have their own youth organization within the local government, within the villages. You know, and you train these people how to manage certain things. You give them certain basic responsibilities. You can even start by giving them a responsibility of organizing meetings. Not just their own meeting, but meetings where elders are going to be there. You start from there, and they sit down there and they listen to you. I remember the present commissioner for information.
And you think you think someone will not say that another is not trying to hijack the structure?
No, well, that is the challenge we are having.
That's politics.
That's politics.
That's politics.
You know, but if we have a what do you call it? If we have a structure in the party, you understand me, and somebody comes in, you see the point. What would there be the need? Why would you have the need to destroy the structure you had
in Rivers State?
we have the problem
of hijacking the structure.
That is
in Edo State. It is still an
the
issue.
The
issue of structure. So in several other states,
that is why I go back to one thing. I said that.
So do you leave a structural formation into just few hands or just one person? Will that person not become superpower?
No,
like we had in Edo State the days of Mr. Fix-It. Was that
the former minister for works? What
yes.
is it? Yes. Well, you see, the challenges we are having actually is that a party must be independent. You see, if that party is independent of certain powers that be, you're going to have this. I'm speaking on an ideal situation. You see the point? But that is the only pathway to go. You see, if you can have a party that is independent of controls of certain person or controls of person in the executive, you're going to see those kind of structures work out. I think we remember when Otui Tatoyo was chairman of the party. That is what the man was trying to do, to elevate the level of which you even enter to contest for election. Say you must be at least a BSc holder to contest as a councillor, which I think would have worked if it was allowed to play out. You see the point? So we need men like that.
Would that not be antithesis to the provision of the Constitution?
Well, you see, this is a party thing. You know, this is a party thing. It's not just a general thing. You can go to any other party that allows you. But if the party says this is what we want, and over time you're going to see that if such a path is followed, you're going to see quality persons being put in positions of authority. But it all takes the people in positions of power.
If the party fails to do this, would you encourage independent candidates?
Certainly. This is the problem. One of the biggest problems we have in this country is the issue of parties being the only people who can enthrone candidates to run for elections. Absolutely wrong. No democracy does that. You understand? The only difference, because as long as we are practicing a presidential system of government, we are not supposed to have such a thing. Give people the right to contest. If they don't like the ideology of party A or party B, they can do whatever they want. You have